The wind cut sharp through the streets of downtown Atlanta that morning, and 11-year-old Jalen Thomas tucked his tiny fingers deeper into the sleeves of a ragged hoodie 2 sizes too big. He hadn't eaten since the night before, and the cardboard under him did little to keep the cold from seeping into his bones. Still, he clutched a folded photo to his chest like it was a treasure. On the other side of the glass, in the Grand Hospital across the street, lay 8-year-old Sophie Bennett, daughter of real estate mogul Mark Bennett. She had been in a coma for 6 weeks after a near-drowning accident during a family vacation. No medicine, no therapy, no amount of wealth had been able to bring her back. Jalen had seen Sophie's face on the news. But what no one else knew was that Jalen had seen her long before that, years ago, on a playground. She had smiled at him when other kids turned away. She had offered him her juice box when he was too shy to ask. She remembered him. And Jalen remembered her laugh. He was sure, deep in his bones sure, that he could bring her back. Mark Bennett didn't want to waste time when the front desk called about a homeless boy asking to see his daughter. He was a man of logic, of evidence, not superstition. "Sir," said the nurse cautiously, "he said he knew her, and she'd want to hear his voice." Mark stood in Sophie's hospital room, weary, sunken. 6 weeks of silence. And then, this child walked in. Dirty. Thin. But his eyes held something that had long vanished from Mark's own, hope. Jalen stood by Sophie's bedside. He didn't flinch at the tubes, or the machines. He just whispered gently, "Hey, sunshine, you remember me?" No movement. Mark sighed, but before he could ask the nurse to escort the boy out, Jalen began to hum. It was the same tune Sophie used to hum at the playground when she made daisy chains. A soft melody Jalen had remembered from years ago. And then, it happened. A flutter. Her fingers moved. The room froze. Machines stayed steady, but nurses leaned in. Mark rushed forward. Jalen didn't stop humming. Sophie's eyelids twitched. Her lips parted slightly. A sound, a breath, a whisper, escaped her mouth. "Jay." What followed stunned the hospital. Doctors called it a miracle. The media called it unexplainable. But to Mark Bennett, it was humbling. Jalen stayed at the hospital, not because he asked to, but because Sophie insisted. She refused to eat unless Jalen was allowed to join her. She spoke more to him than anyone else. Her healing was faster. Her smile, wider. Mark learned Jalen had been living on the streets since his mother died from cancer 2 years ago. The state system failed him. He had no one, except a memory of a kind girl who once gave him juice and laughed with him like he was just another kid. "Why did you come?" Mark asked him one evening, quietly, as Jalen slept in the hospital chair beside Sophie's bed. Jalen looked up. "Because she once saved me from being invisible. I thought maybe I could return the favor." 2 months later, the world knew Jalen's name. But more importantly, he had a home. Mark didn't just open his mansion doors. He opened his heart. Jalen was enrolled in school, given therapy, support, and love. He and Sophie became inseparable, brother and sister, not by blood, but by a bond forged in silence and song. At a press conference, Mark stood with Jalen and Sophie beside him. "There are some things money can't fix," he said. "But sometimes, a homeless boy with a heart full of kindness can do what billion-dollar machines cannot." Years later, Jalen would go on to study neuroscience, determined to understand the miracle he became part of. Sophie became an artist, painting scenes of joy and friendship. Their story would inspire millions. Sometimes, the greatest healing doesn't come from wealth or science, but from love, memory, and the courage to show up, even when the world forgets your name. Jalen wasn't just a boy from the streets, he was the voice that woke up a soul. And in doing so, he woke the hearts of everyone around him.